Dr. Cindy here with Essential Therapies podcast, and I just wanted to pop in and talk about something that I've been working on since the beginning of the year, using myself as an experiment like I often do, and how I've come up with the many essential therapies that I use in my own life. So currently I'm doing some nutritional experimenting with myself, and this is a story that I've shared for many years with many of my patients, and it actually came up a few times in the last week. So I just thought I would share it with you here. And it goes way back to when I was in graduate school. Before I even thought of becoming a physical therapist, I thought I was going to be doing a PhD in nutrition. So I was taking graduate level biochemistry. And what happened was I went and had my blood work done, and lo and behold, I had high cholesterol. It was 265. So, they kind of throw a red flag up at you if it's over 200. And even though my HDLs were good, they just didn't know what to do with me, because at the time I was not only a vegetarian, but I was also running a lot, teaching 10 or 12 fitness classes a week, and they just didn't know what to tell me. So they just kind of threw their hands up and said, oh, well, she's young, we're not going to worry about it. Well, within a few weeks after that, I went into my biochem class, and they said, hey, we're going to talk about the liver and its production of cholesterol. I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. So the professor said, when you get your blood cholesterol taken, only 20% of that number is from what you eat, which was a surprise to me, right? And 80% is what your liver makes. And we're going to learn about that pathway today, that biochemical pathway, which was super exciting to me. So lo and behold, what he was teaching us is that whenever there's insulin present in the blood, it is what turns on that pathway in the liver to make cholesterol. And so right away, my brain is thinking quickly, well, why are we eating so many carbohydrates? And every time we eat a carbohydrate, insulin gets in our blood, and then it tells the liver to make cholesterol. And I knew what my own diet was like. I was eating several small meals a day. So I raised my hand and I asked the question. So if what you're saying is that when there's insulin in the blood, it turns on the pathway, we make more cholesterol, why is it that we are telling people in health and wellness to eat 6 small meals a day based on the food pyramid, which is mostly carbohydrates? Wouldn't that mean then that most of the day we're having glucose in our blood, which is pumping out insulin in our body to get rid of it out of the blood, and then turning on that pathway in the liver? And with all the cholesterol problems that we're having these days, why are we telling people to do that? The funny thing was there was a big pause in this big auditorium, and it felt like forever. I'm sure it was only a few seconds, but he then said, I don't know. This is the pharmacology department, not wellness. And that was it. He just went on to the next topic. And I just remember being blown away thinking, this doesn't make sense. Well, I'm going to use myself as an experiment, which I often do. So I decided right then and there to cut out a lot of the carbs I was eating. I was doing a lot of pastas and breads and, thinking that was the right thing to do based on the pyramid and all this. So I decided to cut down my snacks and meals to 2 or 3 times a day, started eating more than a dozen eggs a week, and eating more nuts. I think I even eventually threw in some tuna because I really was still a vegetarian, didn't want to go down the meat or animal protein quite yet, other than what I was already doing, a little bit of dairy. And about 6 to 8 weeks later, I was working at the time doing health fairs where we would do these little finger pricks and measure the blood cholesterol with the finger prick. And in 8 weeks, my cholesterol was down to 183. So it went from 265 to 183 just by adding a bunch of eggs per week and cutting down my number of meals and decreasing the amount of carbohydrates that I was eating. I was blown away. So I share that story because a lot of people are still confused about eating too much cholesterol and maybe don't understand that part of this culprit is having too much sugar in our blood. And what makes sugar in our blood is anything that's a carbohydrate. Once it gets broken down in the body, it then gets released into the blood as glucose. And that's what we need insulin for, to get that glucose out of the blood. So just a little tidbit and maybe a hint about what's coming up later as I continue with my experiment over the next several weeks, and we'll be ready to share with you more. So meanwhile, have a great day. And know that what's coming ahead are some really great talks with some people to talk about fascia, biotensegrity, some stress and wellness, and all kinds of things that might be part of your essential therapies. Thanks for listening.